Welcome to Voice from the Real World. Continuing to do some review before we move on. We're going to look at the clarification of terms, and this is section 1 called mind-spirit. The term mind is used to represent the activating agent of spirit supplying its creative energy. Again, spirit has already been created. We've covered that. So the mind activates that which has already been created. And why would you activate it? You activate it in order to experience the thought of God. And to activate another mind which can also experience the thought of God. When the term is capitalized, it refers to God or Christ, i.e. the mind of God or mind of Christ. Spirit is the thought of God which He created like Himself. The unified Spirit is God's one Son or Christ. Remember oneness. All is one in heaven. Remember the tiny mad idea where all is one crept in, a tiny mad idea. In this world, because the mind is split, the sons of God appear to be separate, nor do their minds seem to be joined. In this illusory state, the concept of an individual mind seems to be meaningful. It is therefore described in the Course as if it has two parts, spirit and ego. Okay, so here I stand in front of this camera. I appear to have a separate body from yours. But I also seem to have a separate mind and separate thoughts. And I do not share that with you. You have your thoughts. You have your world. You have your perception, your opinions, your emotions, your attitudes that seem to be apart from mine. But that is an illusion. All right? And so now in this thought of a separate mind, I say, I listen to the Holy Spirit that is within me, or I listen to this other voice, which is the ego, which is in me, or my mind, or the idea of me as being rich. That's my name, by the way. Spirit is the part that is still in contact with God through the Holy Spirit, who abides in this part, but sees the other part as well. The term, quote, soul, is not used except in direct biblical quotations because of its highly controversial nature. Now I know that in other versions and in the original writings the word soul was used a lot. And in this version it is removed, changed mostly to mind, to will, to spirit. But let's see what Jesus said way back then. He said, because of its highly controversial nature. Geez, did the Course community make it controversial? Yes, it did. And I've looked at it and I don't see what the controversy is all about when you finally understand what the message of the Course is. It would, however, be an equivalent of spirit with the understanding that being of God, it is eternal and was never born. The other part of mind is entirely illusory and makes only illusions. So the split mind really doesn't exist. This other use of mind that we put together here is totally illusory. Its thoughts don't exist. That's why in the workbook you get what you think, you're not thinking. That's not you thinking. It's almost like a computer. I have a computer here. You know, if it's got a virus in it, it could be saying all kinds of stuff, but that's not what it was programmed to do. All right? It is an error. It's a giant error. And what we're trying to do here is give you the error message and the way to remove the error from your mind, from your thinking, to return back to how you were created and designed to function. What is your function? Creation. That's why we're talking about the law of creation. Spirit retains the potential for creating, but its will, which is God's, seems to be imprisoned, while the mind is not unified. Your will is not imprisoned. You are continuing to do exactly what God created you to do, which is to create and to extend and to share love. That's what you're really doing, but you've blocked your awareness of it. Creation continues unabated because that is the will of God. This will is always unified and therefore has no meaning in this world. It has no opposite and no degrees. The mind can be right or wrong depending on the voice to which it listens. Remember, we covered there's two opposing voices within perception, Holy Spirit and the ego voice. And they have two diametrically opposed results as a result of thinking and utilizing the power of mind. Right-mindedness listens to the Holy Spirit, forgives the world, and through Christ's vision, okay, we're going to forgive the world, going to forgive all this that we made, and through Christ's vision, sees the real world. All right? What is the real world? The real world is that which we've made real through vision. It is a world that was made by the Holy Spirit, by right-mindedness. This is the final vision, the last perception, the condition in which God takes the final step Himself. Here, time and illusions end together. Now, people are still waiting in time and saying, well, God's got to take the final step. Well, we'll cover it in another video, but God's final step, He only took one step, and that was His final step. Guess what it was? He created you. All right? All you're doing is going to return back to when you were extended and created by the Father. When you were caused and became the effect of the Father. That was the last step. You stepped out of that oneness and into a place of time and degrees and aspects and levels, and now it appears that we're returning. We're not returning to anything. We never left. Wrong-mindedness listens to the ego and makes illusions, perceiving sin and justifying anger, and seeing guilt, disease, and death as real. We're making it real. Both this world and the real world are illusions. Okay? The real world is not heaven. It is an illusion. But it is a corrected thought of a misthought that the Son had. Because right-mindedness merely overlooks or forgives what never happened. Therefore, it is not the one-mindedness of the Christ mind whose will is one with God's. Oneness, one-mindedness in heavenly thought. In this world, the only remaining freedom is the freedom of choice, always between two choices or two voices. Will is not involved in perception at any level and has nothing to do with choice. Consciousness is the receptive mechanism, receiving messages from above or below, from the Holy Spirit or the ego. Consciousness has levels, and awareness can shift quite dramatically, but it cannot transcend the perceptual realm. At its highest, it becomes aware of the real world and can be trained to do so increasingly. Yet the very fact that it has levels and can be trained, learned, demonstrates that it cannot reach knowledge. And we already talked about the difference between knowledge and learning, memory, all this stuff that we made. Last thing I want to say in this video is we learned something, so that means we had to be taught. So learned means teacher. Okay. So who taught you this system of thinking, this thought system? Who taught that to you? Guess what? You taught yourself. You taught yourself. Wasn't your parents, wasn't your school, wasn't your environment, wasn't the body you chose. You taught yourself this, and you've repeated it, these concepts, until you think this is so real to you that to say it's unreal sounds like insanity, when actually you're making it real is the insanity. You taught yourself. Little sweet baby, isn't it cute and so innocent? It is a full-blown effect of a false mind. It's a false effect, but nevertheless it is an effect of a false mind that comes here to teach itself this thought system, because it wants to deny its true will, it wants to deny its true identity, and it wants to have another identity. So next time you welcome a little baby into this world of ours, look at it and say, Holy Son of God, how long before you return back to your identity? I will not agree with your dream. I will not agree with your nightmare. I will not agree with your identity as Baby Bill, or whatever your name is. You are the Holy Son of God. You are my brother. And we are returned to the will of God, to true creation, and to the knowledge of heaven, where learning has totally ended and illusion cannot enter, where perception cannot go. So, forgiveness. Do it. Just do it.